You've built the geometry, you've added the parameters. Now it's time to give your families render-ready materials. In the third video of BIM Depot's 5-part beginner series on Revit family creation, we're going to cover how to assign materials to your Revit families, set up material parameters, how your content appears in shaded, realistic, and rendered views. All BIM Depot families are built with proper material control out of the box. This allows you to focus on design and not cleanup. Let's jump in. So working off the family that we created in parts 1 and 2 of this series, let's go ahead and continue to develop. So if we click on our object, you'll notice that material and finishes right here in our properties dialog box can be modified. Let's go ahead and click into this box, and you'll notice that a 3-dot button pops up. And you'll notice that we now have our material browser that pops up. So this is very basic out of the box. So your firm might have your own materials that you use, or maybe you want the more expanded version of the Revit materials. So if we click on this folder down here, open existing library, you'll notice that this opens to the last dialog box that I have. If you would like to find and load the out-of-the-box library for Revit materials, you go to this location on your computer. So once you navigate here, you can find the typical material library that has been loaded out of the box. So now within here, you'll notice it's much more expanded. So it's giving you common building materials. Let's go ahead and scroll all the way down. So to add this within the common area here, you just click the arrow, add materials to document. And now you'll notice it's an option. So click on walnut and we'll click OK. So you notice we still have this basic white cube. To see the material, come down here, visual style, and then let's go to realistic. So now we see we have that walnut texture that we loaded within the project. So let's go ahead and load into project, overwrite the existing. So if we come down here the same way we did in the family, you can click texture or realistic. So now you'll see that we have this walnut texture for all of the different types that we have within here. So if you recall, we have one type that is a square cube and another type that is a rectangular cube. So let's say we wanted to control this separately within the family. So let's say this is a piece of furniture. In this furniture, you're going to do in multiple different types of materials throughout the project. The way that we do that is we come up to our family types, and then similar to the previous video, if you didn't watch it, we go over how to create parameters. We'll go to new parameters. If we come into new parameter, click on the parameter properties box. In the data type, can scroll down all the way to material, and then you'll notice that we can actually create a material now. I'm going to go ahead and do a shared parameter so we can see, within a schedule, what type of material this box is. So you can also choose whether this is a type or an instance parameter, and that's really just going to be based on, your project specifics or your family specifics. Let's go ahead and do instance because we might be doing the same box but in different materials. Let's click OK. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and click on the geometry again. So instead of specifying the material right here, similar to the previous video where we associated our visibility parameter, we're going to click on that same rectangular box, but for material. And then you'll notice that the material parameter that we added is right here. We'll click OK. And now it's by category. So if we want to adjust this, we can come in, we can modify it here to be walnut, and it'll be adjusted, or we can leave it to by category. So let's go ahead and load this into the project, overwrite the existing. Now, if we look into the properties dialog box, we can see BD material 1 by category. So what does by category mean? If we come into our manage tab and we go to object styles, let's go ahead and scroll all the way down to generic models, and you'll see one of the columns at the end says material. So essentially what that by category is saying is that it's just going to pull from your object style by the category of the Revit family. Let's modify this and let's do a birchwood. Okay, now you'll notice that since all of these families are by category, they're just going to adopt whatever the default is for that project. So let's say that's the overriding, common material for this type of category, but there's particular instances that we want it to be different. We can now come in, since we have this controlled as an instance parameter here, we can come in and start to modify it. So let's go ahead and do a cherry wood. So now you see that that's totally different from the by category birch option that we chose. And then again, since this is instance, we can even change two families that are the same type. We can even change these. Let's go ahead and make this our walnut. So now we really have a lot of flexibility with this to change how we're assigning materials to these objects. You can also do this as a type parameter. So if you always wanted, this size of box always to be walnut, you can easily do that. And again, we walked over in detail how to do that in the previous video, so go check that out if you haven't already. So now that we have all of this loaded, this is really accessible in any sort of view. So if you wanted to create more of a graphic plan, you use that same settings, so that same visual style. You can change it. If you wanted more of a graphic elevation, you can do the same. So this is really a fantastic tool, not only for rendering, but also if you have certain things that you want to show, within your elevation. So if this is like a historic elevation that you need to communicate really cleanly, it's a great way to do it. And you can also do, your standard rendering. So if we were to create a 3D camera view, and then we just have to change it, we're doing it in the same way. So now for even your 3D perspective rendered views, you actually have this material. So it's not something that you're having to update separately from your construction documents. You don't have to create a separate file for your rendering project. So it's really nice to have all of this stuff really integrated from the start, such that you're not creating multiple models of the same exact thing. Material parameters don't just improve how your families look. They give you control over documentation, render quality, and client presentations. It's really a major upgrade, even for the simplest component. In the next video of BIM Depot's 5-part beginner series on Revit family creation, we'll cover family categories, subcategories, and visibility settings. This is really going to be where you start to make your content look great in your orthogonal views like plans, sections, and details. If you want families that already follow clean material standards, check out the BIM Depot library. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along for the rest of the series.